All right, the time has come to build my second planter stand, or a container gardening stand. A stand that gets my container garden up to my waist height. I'm going to build that wood frame. My brother and I built this one. We just saw a picture of it on the internet, and he's a really good carpenter, and he figured it out and did the measurements, and we got 6 buckets in there, and there we are. Lengthwise, you can see down the center there's a railing for stability's sake, and at the bottom, right under those buckets, can you see it down there? There's a rail that they're sitting on down there, so the weight of the bucket is resting on a rail on each side, as well as the lip of the buckets resting on that one on the top. So what I'm going to do right now is take measurements, because I've forgotten what measurements we used. It's basically just 4 different measurements, and then I'm going to take it over and saw the wood that I have. I'm using 2x3s, not 2x4s. That's overkill, makes it too heavy. 2x3s, it's sturdy and fine. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, one thing you have to remember is you got to put these legs on that come up from the ground, and we're going to offset those 24-inch pieces in the middle there that go from left to right. We're going to offset those so there's a little nook right in there, right? So that you can screw them in from the front, and then you can also screw them in from the side, okay, to hold those legs in place. And it's quite sturdy. You really can't see it, but it doesn't hardly move at all. So that is meaning we're going to offset those 24-inch pieces. They're going to be at 1.5 inches in. All right, I've cut all my wood. These are my, well, not that one, but these are my 42-inch. This is the length of the planter right there, the length. And I've cut all my wood here. I've got my 42 inchers, 4 42 inchers. I have 4 33 inchers, those are the legs. I have 3 36 inchers. Those are the bars in the middle that the buckets rest on. And then I have 4 24 inchers. Those are the width, at least part of the width. What I've done here on my 42 incher, I've marked 1.5 inches in so that I can take this crossbar, and it's going to line up right there on that line. And this is the crossbar for going across the planter. The buckets will sit right in the middle of this, showing 3 on one half of it and 3 on the other half. So I've got that mark there because the leg is going to go right in that crook down there. The 33-inch legs will fit right in that crook. So now I'm going to drill a hole and for the screws, and then screw the screws in and get this box made, and I'll show you that in a moment. I'm using 2.5-inch multi-material construction screws with a T20 drive head. A lot better than your Phillips, so they don't strip as easy. So you can see that star at the top. This one has a T20 size, and it comes with its own bit inside. So that's what I'm using. I cut guide holes for the screws I'm going to screw in there. I just put a piece across, and right on that line that I drew, and then I drilled a couple of starter holes so that my screws will grab easier and I don't have to get angry at them flipping off and stuff like that. All right, I have the first, the top square, it's not a square, the top frame made. You can see it's just a rectangle overlapping here at the ends for the legs. When I get the legs here, of course, the legs will go right in here and down to the ground. Got that piece down the middle for stability, and also so those buckets can hang on it. And I just wanted to make sure it was going to work, because I don't have nearly the skill my brother does. But when I pick these up, all right, there we go. They all just hang there nice and neat. And of course they'll be sitting on a rail on the bottom, because I have to make another one of these frames that'll go right below it. And it'll have a center rail, not one right between the buckets like this one does, but it'll have a rail right under each side of the buckets, so they can kind of sit on that and take the weight. So it's come together. I forgot to film it while I was making it, but you saw me do the top part, the top frame. Right there, just that rectangle with the center post. Well, then you have to do it again. You make a second one, just like the top one, but you're doing it on the bottom, for the bottom. Okay, exact same measurements. Everything's exactly the same. The legs go in the same crook right there. Top, bottom, top, bottom. But you don't have a center rail down there in the middle. Instead, you have a rail that goes under each bucket. So it's what? It's about 5 inches in. You can measure that out and see where you're pretty much in the center of the bucket. And it's just so that the bucket can sit on it when it gets heavy there. And that's the only difference between the top and the bottom. So what you saw me do on the top, do it again. Except don't do the center rail. Do a 36-inch resting rail for the buckets. Okay, so you got this 36-inch piece right here. And then you got a 36-inch piece down there. And another one down there for the bottom one. And from that lip of the bucket's resting on the upper edge, down to where it's resting on the top of that resting rail, it's 11.5 inches. So you measure from the top down 11.5, and that's where you screw in the bottom frame, is 11.5 inches below the top of the top frame. And then those buckets will sit right on it nice and easy. And there you have it. Works really well for me anyway. I've got my Carolina Reaper pepper and my Pablo Ancho, or Ancho Pablo pepper sitting on the top here, and getting ready to put a few more buckets in here and get my garden going.